Hey, big head.
So you graduate in 2011.
That's so funny.
And like you said before, you get accepted to the University of Pacific, U.O.P.
Yes.
What was your major? And was this your dream school, or did you apply other places and just ended up going to U.O.P because it's cheaper with in-state tuition and all that good stuff?
Okay, so by the time I went to U.O.P, let's see, so 2000, that was 2011 that I started at U.O.P, and my first major was global studies, and I chose global studies because you're like required to study abroad for 1 year. And so I really wanted to get out of the country. I still do. It's still one of my dreams, and to go live elsewhere, and experience what it's like to live somewhere else. But I never got there.
Yet. Never got there yet.
Yeah. Well, even with that major, because I switched my major. And what a lot of people like, I never, I guess, share this story on live like this or anything, but like I was kicked out. I flunked out of U.O.P twice. And the first time I got kicked out of U.O.P, like I said, I was using like, first, started with drug, like weed, and progressed into other things. And so I was living on campus, going to U.O.P, and I was doing drugs and like pretty bad. I became like, addicted to different substances. And so I flunked out that first year. Like my first semester at U.O.P was a 0.68 GPA. Like, is how bad it was.
So you just didn't show up, pretty much.
Like, I showed up sometimes, and I might have turned in like 1 or 2 assignments. Is really what it was, And but I've always been this kind of person that people always just like tell me how much potential I have, and that's just my entire life, to the point where I'm just like, potential doesn't mean anything. It obviously doesn't mean anything,
right.
Because it doesn't until you put action behind it. It doesn't mean a thing, and so. And most like addicts I know are like that. People, like really bright people, like brilliant people, creative people who just, become addicted. And so I got kicked out that first year, and I got clean actually after that first year. Clean date for anybody sitting at home is March 24th, 2012. And so I've been clean and serene for 9 years. And that's a long time. That's a long time. And that means I don't put any mood or mind altering substance in my body to change the way that I think or feel. And so I choose to live my life, and the rest of my life, like I've made a commitment to myself to live my life unaltered by any other chemical for the remainder of my life. Pretty much is what I feel. And so I got kicked out of that school. And they make sure, too, like they sent letters, they sent emails, they like,
called, don't come back here.
They're like, what the words they used were, you have been uninvited or disinvited. You have been disinvited to this institution.
That's kind of harsh,
isn't it? It's like, wow. Okay. And so anyway, by the time like I got clean, I got these people that in my life who I started going to like 12-step, meetings and that sort of thing that saved my life also. And this woman who was sponsoring me then and now, she's been my sponsor for 9 years. She asked me a very crucial question, and she was like, "Do you want to go to school?" Like, which is not something that people like. I felt like I went because I was expected to go. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, sure, yeah, I do. And so she said, okay, well, you have to have some sort of faith, and you're going to have to practice action, commitment, and perseverance. And I was like, I felt up until that moment, like I heard those words and never knew what they really meant. And she told me I had to have courage, and I was like, what? Like, I never understood. And I did an appeal process, and And I went in front, and if anybody knew me, my first year going to U.O.P, like I looked like a crazy person, like I was on drugs and I looked like I was on drugs. Like I dressed crazy. Like my eyes were nuts. Like I had really bad bags under my eyes. Like I looked crazy. I lost like a lot of weight. And so I went in front of this panel of people. It was like all, white people who were, in my eyes, way like a completely different status of human being than I was. And I had to tell them my truth and tell them what was going on with me, and essentially ask for a second chance. And lo and behold, they had enough faith in me to say, like, okay, we'll give you another chance.
After they gave you the second chance, you flunked out again?
Yeah. So that second time, because I was so behind, that second time, I tried to continue to do that, like, global studies thing, and study all these things that I love, like anthropology and everything, all of the stuff. But what I found out was at that time, I had been using drugs the way to cope with how I felt around people. Like it became a thing where I didn't want to be around people unless I was high, for some years of my life. And so by then, like when I had stopped everything, I had no idea how to even be a human being. Like I did not know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to ask for help. Like I had so much anxiety that I'd have to, it would take me like 15 minutes to like walk up to the door of my classes, and I'd sit in my car and just cry, and I'd be on the phone with somebody like praying with me to like, Jazzy, you can do this, and like walk with me on the phone, like walk with me up to the door to walk in a class and just sit there. And I didn't know how to ask for help. And so I flunked out again and had to, that second year was even worse because I felt everything. That first year, I was just like,
right.
Everything. That second year, I felt all of it. And then, but I still did the work, and I did a lot better, but not well enough to make so that I could keep my scholarship. And so I had to appeal one more time, and I don't know why, but they said yes. And they said, okay, like, this is your last chance. And I'm like, damn. And so I worked my ass off. Like I had to switch my major. They told me you have enough credits to either to go into history or enough credits to go into communication. And so, I chose communication class because I feel like I'm a pretty good public speaker anyway. I talk really, well, and I have experience being in front of crowds and stuff. And so I chose to do that. And I did like 18 units every semester until I graduated. I did internships for extra credit. I did all types of stuff. I also worked 2 jobs. And yeah, so I worked my butt off and did not hang out with people for like the next 2 years. And I flunked out twice, but I still like worked my butt off and graduated with my class.